for me, there's still a lot of confusion out there as to like exactly what cryptocurrencies are and where they get their value. And you feel like the person to sum this up for your average listener in layman terms.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different types of crypto, and I think they get value from different things, sort of a lame, but true answer. But maybe to give a few examples of that, like, one thing you could look at is Bitcoin, and where does it get its value from? It's sort of similar to like where does gold or fiat currency get its value from? To some extent, it's our collective imagination. It's us all agreeing that this is the thing we're going to ascribe value to, and it being a good enough functional product to be able to hold that value. That's sort of the answer for Bitcoin. I think when you look at some smart contract chains like Ethereum, part of the answer is it's the world's global decentralized computer where you can submit your own custom code to it, and the blockchain will run that code and it will run your applications for you in a decentralized way. And so it gets its value to some extent from its ability to successfully run those programs, and to scale for them and provide the right guarantees and trust that you need. And then you can look at Dogecoin and like where does it get its value from? And I think the answer is I don't know, where did GameStop get its value from? Like where does Tesla get some of its value from? You can call it a meme stock, you can call it an altcoin, you can call it a shitcoin, you can call it what you want, but it has value. If people give it value, then it has value. That's what value means. And sort of like deny that at your own risk.
Yeah, I guess the tricky part with something like that is, does the value evaporate once people are off it if it's not based on something tangible, isn't it? That's, absolutely. I guess, what's hard to get your head around.
Good point. It totally could. And I think that because of that, if it's not based on something tangible, you have to have a sense of, are people going to give up on it? I mean, there's the same thing with gold, right? Gold's value would evaporate if everyone got bored of gold.
Hey, totally. Yeah.
But, people probably won't get totally bored of it. They might get somewhat. And I think that, with these things, you have to decide, like, is this a flash in the pan? Or is this something the world is going to remain excited about and maybe even get more excited about over time? It's not always obvious, but I think that's a lot of what determines what the real value should be of a token.
Can I add to that and say to you that if someone finds a rough diamond, right, and there's a process to cut that diamond a number of ways, let's just say if it takes 6 steps, it never changes. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's diamonds. The only other thing is there's a certain amount of supply, and that's it. Mm-hmm. If someone decides to sit down at a restaurant the same day every day because they think it's great and they've got the most valued seat, they enjoy the conversation, that's value. They pay for it, right? But actually the best value is the value that has multiple applications and can scale, right? So you think about Bitcoin and the multiple uses of Bitcoin, or XRP in terms of low commission costs, really fast settlement. The question is the application, right? Because you're not just ascribing a value that you think, you know what, I just love the idea of cryptocurrency. I like the idea of being able to work across the globe and not have anyone f***ing around with my money. However, I want to be able to use it in in many different applications. That scalability is probably the ultimate value, right?
I tend to agree. I mean, I think that, I don't know if I'd say it's the ultimate value, but I think it is a big ultimate value. And I think that it's one that people don't think about very well. And in particular, I think people are kind of short-sighted with respect to it.
Isn't that the most important factor in terms of the staying power of a coin?
Well, it's a good question. It does not empirically seem to correlate that closely with value, with market cap of tokens right now. I think it might come to do so more over time. But I think that, if you look at the biggest tokens right now, they're not the most scaling tokens. And I think that one thing that's going on here, and I don't know for sure, but my best guess is that people just don't think far enough in advance. And that people basically think like, well, how many transactions do I want to send? How many transactions does each network has? Which have enough? Great, let's go with these. And what they don't think is, in 6 years, so like specifically selecting for the cases that matter the most, specifically selecting for the cases where crypto gets huge, how many transactions am I going to want to send? And what is able to scale up to that? And that just gets you very different answers. Because right now, the answer is that you need 1,000 transactions a second, roughly, to run the applications that exist in decentralized finance. But I don't know, how many tweets do you think there are a second? it's more than 1,000. It turns out it's like 100,000, right? And how many trades are there on New York Stock Exchange per second? How many Facebook likes are there per second? How many Visa payments are there per second? You can look at all these things in the real world, and when you have 1 billion users, it turns out you often have like a 50,000 to 5 million transactions a second. Is like sort of the sweet spot for like global scale programs, and almost no blockchains even have it in their roadmap to eventually get up to anything close to that. And so even if many of them can scale to what we have right now, most of them cannot scale to where things are supposed to go. And
they can't scale to that ever, you think?
Ever.
Oh, wow.
And that's like kind of a big deal. And when you hear people talking about it, they don't talk about it as if that's going to be important to get there. It's just not part of their mental picture of things. And I think that's a big oversight a lot of people have had, is just thinking too short term in terms of what the demand is going to be.